What's up guys, Can't Flip for Ship here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about Fox Fire Factory, his products. These right here are that I have on this rep, oh shit, are the ringers. So these are liners that have like a floating system because they have a little bit of tiny spacers. You can't really see them, but they're thin little spacers. And they kind of separate the space to kind of make it to where these don't touch on the liners, and they basically create like a level of ring. And another thing that I have with me, if I can grab the right thing, is these anti-tap liners that are also part of his lineup here. And as you can see, they have like a cutout in the center, and then they are thinner. So if you look really closely right here, you can see kind of how it's thicker on one spot and thinner, and then same here how it tapers, thicker and thinner. And basically it makes it to where there is a wider space in the balisong to where there is no tap. And it, that is a really beneficial thing for a lot of people, because some reps really have like a tendency to have tap. My rep that I have, oh shit, this one right here did not have tap, but I decided to try out the anti-tap liners. And the thing about the anti-tap liners is that they are essentially, holy shit, I can't flip for shit today. I haven't warmed up today, it's me just getting right into it. But they are essentially, I forgot what the fuck I was saying, so just forgive me, but the anti-tap liners, they make the knife a lot lighter. You wouldn't think that it would make that much of a difference, but it really does make like a pretty substantial difference. When I first put them on my stock rep, there's two things that I sort of noticed. One was that it brought the balance really close to neutral, which is something that I'm not used to for the rep, which is fine. You know what I'm saying? It just definitely felt different. So if you're somebody who wants a rep but you like that more neutral feel, they would be a really good option, especially because, it's from a reliable guy who makes, quality stuff. And this stuff is definitely quality. And wow, it's quality, and it's definitely quality. True quote from me. But yeah, no, seriously, it's reliable, it's dependable. He's going to show up for you when the time is required. And it was really easy doing business with him, so I really would recommend it. But yeah, that's mostly what I have to say about the liners. I personally did notice, the second thing that I noticed, is that they were significantly less, like they had less bounce, or it wasn't necessarily about the bounce, it was more about the noise. So that kind of like rep sound that you hear, that you're like kind of used to hearing, it just didn't have that, which is fine for some people. But for me, if I really like the noise of rep. And so when I got the liners and put them on, I kind of noticed that it just didn't have as much of like a deep sound, which is good for like if you're somebody who doesn't like too much sound in your balisong. It's really beneficial. Oops. Because it kind of brings the sound level down, but it still sounds good. It still sounds like a quality, like well-tuned balisong. It just doesn't have that like ringy, like loud, kind of nutty sound. And that's something that me personally, I really like in a balisong. So I opted to swap out the anti-tap liners for the original liners and just go ahead and put the ringers in. Originally, they came to me kind of like they work well together. Like you can have them as a kit, so you can have ringers and anti-tap liners. But I opted to just keep just the ringers on this balisong, and then swap the anti-tap liners to another balisong. Because the truth of the matter is that overall, a balisong is going to flip better. A replicant is going to flip better having the anti-tap liners. Especially if you're like somebody who likes a lot of neutral balisongs. So you guys know that I like a handle bias, so it might be a little bit different for me. But but for most people, that little bit of difference, that little bit of extra, or less weight on the handles is really going to be beneficial for a lot of you guys. Oops. And so that's why, to me, I feel like they're a very recommendable product. By the way, none of this got sent to me. This is all purchased by me, so you know there's no bias in my reviews or anything like that. But yeah, that's mostly what I had to say about it. Oops. So yeah, that's the liners. They make the flipping experience better. They make the battle song more neutral. They're really easy to get into a real rep, and but they are a little bit less nutty sounding, which for me was more important to me for this specific build than you know, than having it be, you know, a great flipper, which because I don't mind the way this thing flips at all. Oops. So now we can move on into the ringers. And to me, this is probably the part that I have really been so much enjoying. I think these ringers brought a level of nuttiness to this bell song that, you know, I didn't know was possible at first. Because when I first installed them, I had a little bit of trouble with, geez, I can't get that 0G. Here we go. I had a little bit of trouble with getting them like installed properly. It is like a little bit difficult if you've never done it before to install a system like this, but once you get it down, it's good. And then just kind of like getting out like all the little kinks and stuff that comes with, you know, installing new stuff on a rep, because you know they're kind of finicky, and not the parts, but the rep itself is finicky. And so it was a little bit of a process, but once I got them on, I mean, you can hear this thing. It just sounds amazing. This is probably one of my favorite sounding battle songs of all time. Even, you know, amongst a lot of other crazy options that sound really good, this one it's a great competitor. So yeah, that's really where it all kind of ends with me as far as that goes. And then we can talk a little bit about how these things kind of work. Oops, wrong battle song. I have like just pockets full of battle songs. Talk a little bit about how they fit onto the clone. So if you were looking to get a clone, this is a Bally Plus rep that I have, and when it got to me, it had tap. I installed the anti-tap liners and sanded the bushings down, because one thing that is of note is that if you have like the Bally Plus stock liners and you put the Fire Factory liners on it, for some reason the bushings need to be larger on the stock, so you'll have to sand them back down a little bit whenever you put them into the Fire Factory one. So I did sand them down a little bit, but it is extremely difficult to get tap out of these battle songs. Even with the anti-tap liners, it was very hard to get tap out of this battle song, and I think it has to do with Bally Plus. I don't think it has to do with Fire Factory, because I had trouble tuning this thing even with the stock liners. So that's kind of how I feel about the issue, but the liners do fit. And the one thing that's true is, like, even though it didn't necessarily 100% help with the tap as much as I thought it would, it did help a little bit. And on top of that, it makes this battle song flip so much better. So the stock Bally Plus rep is like so heavy, that it is kind of tiring to flip at times. And you know, these are the stock spacers back on it that it came with, and they fit just fine on the anti-tap liners, as you can see. But because the spacers are so heavy, plus the liners are heavy for the stock, it makes it kind of cumbersome to flip. But then when you take, I mean, you can just tell right now, like, seeing how well this thing fans and, you know, how flowy it is. Like, if you take if you take these anti-tap liners and you put it on this thing and then just put the stock rep spacers back on, I think this is an excellent balance. So just something to think about, just something to consider, is that this, if you have a Bally Plus rep and you have a little bit extra cash and you wanted to try to swap out the liners, if you have a little bit of tap, these liners will probably fix that for you. If you have a lot of tap, it's a 50-50. And then, you know, obviously, you know, if you know how to tune, that will be helpful. But yeah, so if that's pretty much the situations, like if you have a Bally Plus rep that has a little bit of, you know, tap and you want to get it out, and you also want a great flipping experience, these scales or liners are a really good option for you. But that's mostly it. So yeah, overall, the products from Fox Fire Factory are great. If you have a stock rep, I think keeping the stock liners and buying the ringers is probably going to be your best bet in terms of like if nuttiness is like your number one concern. But if you have, you know, a clone and stuff like that, you know, putting the ringers on the clone is not necessarily going to make it so great, and it's also going to be pretty heavy. So I've tried putting the ringers on the clone and I didn't like it as much, and I've tried putting the liners on the stock and I didn't like as much. So my recommendation is that if you have a clone, putting the liners on the clone would be better, and if you have a real rep, putting the ringers or the spacers is what I should say, is that because they're spacers, that would be the better option. So oops. So yeah, and then obviously the caveat is like if you want a valve song that flips better from the stock rep, then putting the anti-tap liners on there is better because they're lighter. If you like, I remember when I first got my rep, I was like, dude, this weight is like unbearable. This weight is unbearable. That's literally me like every day of just thinking about my existence. Holy millennial, that was a corny ass joke. Anyways, so yeah, that's basically it. If I thought the weight was really heavy, and so I was like, you know, I wish there was something lighter. And I kind of talked to Fox Fire Factory, and he's like, yeah, man, like these scales will be a little bit lighter, so it'll probably change the feel just a little bit, but it changed the feel a lot. And I actually liked the way it flipped, but I just couldn't get over the fact that like it didn't have the same bounce and like nuttiness as the, you know, these stock liners for the rep did. So I went back to the stock liners and just went with the ringers for probably one of the best sounding valve songs of all time. But that's really all I have to say about this. Let me know if this video was helpful. There's not really many videos out right now about Fox Fire Factory ringers and ATLs and stuff, so it's kind of a nice thing. One little side note too is these ringers. I don't know if you can hear it, but like they have like a certain, there's like a low hum on these things that like is outside of like any other like valve song that I've ever heard, because it's like, you know, not only do you get the like the high pitched little rings with every little movement of the valve song, but you also get like that low cool hum, and it is super awesome. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about these guys. Let me know if you have questions. I'll just answer them down in the comments. I won't make a follow-up video on this because I'm probably gonna sell the liners. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So let me know down in the comments below if this was helpful, and let me know what you want to see next. Rock on.